This is a pretty interesting one, guys. Go ahead and listen to the clip and let me know what you think. In this one, Cliff is discussing the issues between Prime Minister Andrew Holness and opposition leader Mark Golding, and suggesting that the only way for them to solve their issues is to have previous Prime Minister PJ Patterson and Bruce Golding sit with them in a room and play the role of conciliers to both leaders and solve these issues. Go ahead and let me know what you think about this clip, guys. This one's a pretty interesting one. Please like, subscribe, and comment.
Constitutional reform continues to be contentious. On Friday, we got word from the opposition leader Mark Golding through a letter he sent to the Prime Minister, essentially urging the Prime Minister to sit with him to make another go at this unfinished, prolonged business of constitutional reform. And this was in response to a letter he had received from the Prime Minister urging them to get going on this matter. That letter from the Prime Minister was not made public, but it was based on the Prime Minister's public urging of Mark Golding at his swearing-in ceremony some weeks ago. In that moment, Prime Minister Holness urged Mark Golding to let the two of them join together to work this out, to make another go at it. And Mark Golding took umbrage to the fact that the Prime Minister, in reaching out to him, Mr. Golding, said that he should begin talks with the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Delroy Chuck. Essentially, Mr. Golding said no, but the better route to go was for them two to sit down and hammer out their positions before going to the minister. And I see that has sparked a political row with some people accusing Mr. Golding of trying to continue what they feel is a slight of the Prime Minister. And of course, others take a different view. You know, this matter of constitutional reform, if it were not for the very tribal nature of the politics, we could have made a lot more progress on it. Because frankly, it just needs some maturity. Some maturity. Based on what has to be done and what is needed to be done in terms of parliamentary support, no one political party can get this thing done or moved forward. It's a point that a number of the elders, including former Prime Ministers Golding and Patterson, have said. And it's a reality. The structure is such that whether you have a 2/3 majority in the lower house, as the JLP had up until September 3, you're still going to need the support of the opposition because you don't have that 2/3 majority in the Senate. And what this requires is for, and I'm going to be bold to say, 4 of our leaders, 4 men: Prime Minister Andrew Holness, Opposition Leader Mark Golding, former Prime Ministers PJ Patterson and Bruce Golding. What do I mean by that? clearly, the relationship between Golding and Holness is so characterized by a lack of trust, a lack of confidence, bitterness, especially coming out of the elections a couple of weeks ago, where Holness and his people are clearly hurt, and have good reasons to be hurt, by the kind of vicious personal attacks that Golding led against Holness. And you saw in the debate where Holness shot back at Golding, calling him a liar. So there's that acrimony between the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition. So it's clearly very difficult for both men to trust each other. Yes? There's no trust there, or very little trust there. And left up to the two of them, I don't think we're going to make much progress. And that's where Golding and Patterson come in. But Golding and Patterson can take it upon themselves to invite themselves to play a conciliatory role, a role that could bring the two protagonists, Holness and Golding, to the table. And that's what is needed. That is what is needed. I don't know, probably there are two other persons or some other person who enjoys the trust and confidence and standing of the Prime Minister and the opposition leader who could do it. But clearly, they're not going to be able to do it by themselves. You get the impression that they virtually dislike each other to the point where they don't want to be in the same room. Yeah? And it is a problem because, Westminster that we have inherited from the Brits, one of its necessary hallmarks to do well, to perform well, is what they call a matter of honor and trust in the UK, where all matters of state are conducted as a matter of honor by honorable men and women. We have long lost that to a great extent. And that is why this morning I'm asking that certainly the Prime Minister, the opposition leader, should probably reach out to the two former Prime Ministers, Golding and Patterson, to play a conciliatory role, to bring them together, at least get them talking with each other, and then move it to what are the issues that separate them, what are their objectives, key objectives. When I was growing up in the 70s and the 80s, during the height of that intensely political and ideological period of the 70s and the early 80s, I gather that then it was Michael Manley versus Edward Seaga. And you know how that went. The rivalry couldn't be more intense. But that period of Manley and Seaga had a man like Hugh Shearer. Hugh Shearer was a Labourite, of course, former Prime Minister from the Labour Party, trade union leader. But he was a very, very close friend of Michael Manley, who enjoyed the confidence of Mr. Manley. And he played this kind of role that I'm now suggesting for Patterson and Golding. Yeah? When Siaga and Michael couldn't even bear to exchange words, Shearer would be the go-between. And Shearer would play that role. Who do we have now? Unless there's somebody else that I don't know. But I think Patterson could command that in the leadership of the PNP, and Golding similarly for the JLP. That's what we need now, to get them talking. Outside of that, I see G2K, the president of the Cornwall Bar Association. Nothing else is going to make sense. Yeah? I see a story in the Gleaner this morning, St. Jess, of no moment. Yeah? The two leaders have to sit down, and we need to get them in a room and to start build the trust and confidence. 25 minutes after 10. I see where the Minister of Labour and Social Security, Pernell Charles, is warning Jamaicans that job recruitment scams are on the increase, and we should be very careful, about these scams that are now proliferating, offering all kinds of jobs and whatever. Be careful about them, he says.
Yes, there has certainly been an increase in the number of job recruitment scams that we've seen this year compared to last year. This is reflected in the rise of illegal agencies that have emerged, mainly recruiting online, where they can hide behind various videos and photos that they put up. And they can offer non-existent job opportunities that seem very attractive, though they are simply empty lies. So a comparison of 2024 and 2025 calendar years show that 27 illegal entities offered job opportunities between January to December of 2024, while we saw uptick to 43 illegal agencies in 2025 being identified between January to September of this year.
Minister Charles says the government will never ask job seekers to send money up front in order to secure employment.
What we have realized as red flags is that scammers normally request monies up front to be sent to a personal bank account, and this is a no-no. That's a glaring red flag. We don't request any money, and most employment agencies that are legitimate will not request any money up front. Secondly, these scammers operate without having any physical space from which they operate. So they may say to you, meet us here, or meet us at some place that is well known, because they don't have a physical office space. Thirdly, they offer farm work jobs, which that again should be an immediate indication it is a scam, because only the Ministry of Labour and Social Security is authorized to recruit.
Minister Charles says most scams involve telling people that the so-called agency can secure employment for them on the government's farm work program or in hotels abroad.
Only the Ministry of Labour and Social Security can place you on any farm work that is agricultural. Secondly, when it comes on to H2B, which includes jobs like housekeeping, servers, cooks, hotel clerks, lifeguards, caregivers, they lure persons in by giving them details and giving them the impression that they have credibility. So they'll say to you, you're going to be leaving by X date, and give you a specific date, they give you a specific number of persons that are going to be traveling with you, which season, they tell you that the spaces are limited, and because of all of those things, you have to pay some money over to them so that they can make sure that you are in the listing. That is a red flag.
A red flag. Yeah? So be careful. Yeah? don't give any money to these people, because that's what they want. These so-called fees. Don't give them a dime. Yeah? Tell them when me get the job, yeah, me get my first pay, you get your fee. Yeah? And see how them run left you. Anytime them ask you for the fee up front, so when me get the work, yeah, and me get the first pay, you can get your fee. Yeah? All right. Just before we go to the next break, I've been sent something via WhatsApp. This person urging me. But I want to know if this is so. Let me read what the listener says. He says, "Good morning, sir. I want you to comment on something for me this morning. Why are most JUTC bus drivers refusing to wear their seatbelts while driving these big heavy units with passengers? The police need to start ticketing them. Thanks in advance." Is that so? JUTC bus drivers don't wear their seatbelts as a routine? I'm not sure if that is so. I must, you tell me. Yeah? Because why would they not wear their seatbelts? Yeah? All right. Let's go to the break. The National Land Agency is advising that its Land Titles Division is temporarily closed to the public due to an unforeseen emergency. The division will resume regular operations at 11:30 a.m. That's this morning. The agency apologizes for any inconvenience this may cause and appreciates your continued support and understanding. Let me just repeat this. The National Land Agency, the NLA, is advising that its Land Titles Division is temporarily closed to the public due to an unforeseen emergency. The division will resume regular operations at 11:30. The agency is apologizing for any inconvenience this may cause and appreciates your continued support and understanding.